Basketball One-on-One with Yourself podcast, presented by mental performance coach Nico Bourgade.
Welcome everyone to the new episode, first episode of the Mind Game of Basketball One-on-One with Yourself podcast. And today we are very happy to welcome Oliver Kostić. Thank you, Oliver, for coming over.
Thank you for the invitation. Pleasure from my side.
Okay, for the ones who don't know Oliver, the last of his experiences, let's say the most recent LKL Coach of the Year 2023-2024 last year in Lithuania, assistant coach of the national team of Serbia, won the bronze medal of the last Olympics in Paris, and now head coach of the Kuwait national team, along with a lot of more experience that I encourage you to take a look on eventually online if you don't know all of his past experiences. For the ones who don't know, I'm very happy personally to have you, Oliver, because we have had the chance to work together for the last several weeks of the last season in Juventus. You're the first coach to open up for me to work with a team. I had been working with players individually for a while now, but with a team to open up, it takes a lot from coaches to accept to have someone else, to someone new, someone to trust, and someone with a new kind of activity. So that's what we're going to discuss along other things. But do you remember, because we have talked a little bit offline before developing the starting the podcast right now, but do you remember our first conversation?
I remember, I remember the place. I remember the place and the momentum.
What was it about? Tell the world what it was about, please. Because I remember.
I don't think that was only one topic.
There was one main topic. You see, I'm tricking you right now.
You're tricking me right now. For me, was the package was the most important. Really, because I know that we touched many things about basketball, and my impression after all these talks was that's full package that you deliver for the first time we saw each other. So that was my impression, which I remember. Now going to the details, if you open the conversation that way, of course, from my gaps in memory, the things will show up. But the package was the most important.
I appreciate you remembering the good things, but after I delivered the package, we actually spent a lot of time talking about wine. Is it true or not?
Of course, it was always part of conversation.
And why I'm saying this, it's because when we met, it was because of network, obviously. And then I managed to get introduced to you, and I talked to you to make you understand what I was doing, to introduce myself. But then once we talked about this, we said, look, you told me, look, we have time to talk about this because it's going to take a while. And we have time to talk about this. And we actually found a common base about life, about the love of life and food, and eventually wine. And we talked about wine into different things, about your love for Italian wines, about French wines, about different things. And that actually started to build a bond together. And what I'm saying is that, okay, we were there for basketball, we were there for mental performance, to find things for you, to help you with the team and things. But what I would like to tell people who are listening is actually that we haven't seen each other since the month of May, I believe, or June, I don't remember. So it's like over half a year, but we still have been in touch often, like regularly from time to time. And it didn't have to have any specific reason about it, because we just stayed in touch on the human side, and it started on the human side as well. And I believe that made our relationship, our working relationship, a successful one, and we can develop this in the next minutes. because at first we have a human relationship that was based on honesty, that was based on people understanding each other. And that's where I think it's really important to start with. When you start working with someone, to make sure that you can trust them and that you believe in them as being good people. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Our situation was specific for many reasons. First of all, I met you for the first time, not having even any clue about what was your background. So I was like spontaneous touch for the first time, and when we open up conversation, that those kind of vibes, I think, connected us closer and closer through every minute of our conversation time, and then we spread the topics, like you said. I thought we were gonna talk about basketball, not about wine, so I didn't. joking a little bit. Of course, like I said, that happens, and this kind of sense that comes up from the energy that we shared, from thoughts and vibes, and I think that was like initial thing to connect two people, to connect us, and that was like a chance to open the door for the future conversation. And that happened after that soon, that after those things, even though, if you remember, that I came to your place when we had a lunch together, that actually was momentum when from my side decision was already made that I wanna cooperate with you. And of course, then was the second part, bringing this topic to the organization that didn't have before that kind of experience, which is always tough in the beginning, especially if there is no tradition, culture of thoughts about having that kind of person in the let's say basketball environment. So
it's true. And like when I recall, between the first time that we met and that time that we had lunch together when you traveled, there was about a month that went by. And in that month that we talked 2-3 times a week, eventually on the phone, where you were like intrigued into what I think, like interested into what I could bring, but intrigued on how I could bring it. And I remember when we met on that time, you clearly asked me literally, how are you going to do it? What you going to bring? Like, how are you going to do it? I'm interested in having you, but how are you going to make it happen? You remember asking me that question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
And I think that's one of the main questions that I think a lot of coaching organizations must have, because they must be interested into mental performance, mental health, well-being, and how to get players into a better place and how to help them to perform better with consistency. Everybody agrees and understands that that can be only beneficial. But how can we make it happen? How can we make it work? Who can we work with? You know my methods, how I work, like you talked about a little bit earlier, how I'm taking care of the mental health, but also mental performance, developing basketball IQ. So it's all a package. It's not just about just breathing and routine, right? And it's in continuity of the work that you already are doing as a coach, and my methods are different than many other, for example, people working into the mental game. So it's hard for people to eventually figure out who is doing what and who can we trust, right?
Absolutely right. In that moment, first of all, that's not something new for me. I had this experience to deal with a different organization, having not maybe the same profile you are, but the persons that from that point have an influence and impact to the team. So then, of course, I believe also that all coaches that really care about to be up to the date of basketball, that they really read or follow many, let's say, materials about that part of the game. And one is to read and to watch or to follow, to collect the knowledge about it. And second thing is how to use it in your program, in your team, your organization. There is space for that, understanding for that, need for that, etc., etc. So for me, during this conversation that we had, like you said, 1 month since we met first time, of course, for me was important to know more about you, your thoughts about different situations, different topics. In the same time, I share with you, let's say, some situations from on the daily basis with the team, which I wanted to bring closer to you to see also how you handle and how you think about. So let's say this our conversation developed actually the belief and trust without still working on, but I think that was like really spark that after that opened the place for the fire that actually started when we joined on the first practice. And from that day, I think I had a feeling that you're not a person I know just for the short time. I had feeling that I know you for the long time. So that helps me a lot in a way, also how to introduce you, how to explain all the people around to understand how can they accept one new person in the staff, new voice on the floor. And I think after that, just the things develop.
Right. And I think that's you were very careful about it, about bringing that new person into the team, that it made sense for everyone to be accepted. So for me to be able to do my job correctly and to be beneficial to the players and to the team, I believe the relationship was successful. We eventually talked. I asked you at the end of the season, like to get feedback about it. And I remember how eventually after the last loss, you had told me about how the video that I'd made the last game against Lietkabelis had brought a lot of emotions to some of the players, maybe too much emotions at that time. But outside of this, it was pretty successful relationship and work. It's hard for some people to realize how to really have data on that work. Some is more obvious than others. For example, when we see, and I don't really want to talk about specific players because I respect them, I like them, but I don't want to use them as well. I've said it before. We have one of the players who was like struggling in the free throw line, who managed to shoot, like from 62% to 81% in 5 weeks in the end of the season in the playoffs. So was doing a lot better. You had one of the players that we like a lot too, was having anxiety issues before one of the games, one of the last games of the regular season. And when we won that game at Lietkabelis, you told me after the game, it's the best game of his career. And I remember like conflictual situation with one player that we managed to, I was there, so help you release, the frustration from him and help him to refocus on what matters and eventually let it go as well, so that he could perform at night into a big game. And most importantly, I was with you guys for 5 weeks, which is very short, but I was there every day with you guys at practice. And I remember you joking when we played in the playoffs, and it was the second game of the playoffs after losing our home against Lietkabelis. We played at Lietkabelis, and you were laughing about it, which I enjoyed because you didn't bring pressure into the game, even though we could have lose that game and be done. But I don't know if you remember, but I had players coming one after another, coming to see me on the bench. You remember that? And you were telling me how, oh, that's it, that's your office now on the bench, you know. And I had players after basically 4 to 5 weeks started to get used to it and started to feel confident about trusting me, about understanding how eventually they could benefit from our relationship, from getting a little more confidence, a little axis of, you know, where to put the perception on how to perform better and things like this. And it was just after 4 to 5 weeks. And to me, I see this as a very successful relationship collaboration, because even though we lost by one the next game after overtime, and there are many things that we can develop and work on, I still believe that it was already very, very successful in those ways.
Overall is, what is success actually?
Exactly.
What is success? There is different way of seeing success. On the end of the day, the biggest success is, for me, which I think every coach likes to have in the season, that the players individually and the players as a group or the team and organization, everybody improve tremendously from the first day to the last game. So this is, I think, long-term success, because everybody has a benefit for much more than one game, the last game.
Of course.
For the last. This is for me number one. Of course, being also better persons, because I don't see that the role of the coach, it's only to talk about X and O. It's to be a not only coach, but being also the teacher, being a friend, being a best support, being a best advisor for many different things that every player in the team, every player in the season face, which is normal, especially for the period that we spend together, and especially for the number of the games that we have, which is not easy to handle. Especially not that you understand when I said about, I will just touch a little bit about this video, because I think it's important for you and for everybody, of course. I had this situation in the past when we had a kind of motivation video, which really gave a lot of wind in the back for the team, and we really played an amazing game, winning even more than realistic numbers. But when we had this video, I had also another situation. It was in Corona time with Bayern Munich, when I was a head coach, and we were in the bubble, and it was a do or die game. But all those situation was very, very specific. You remember, especially that was a second or third month of Corona time, where we didn't know even though what's going to happen every next hour or every next day, because of all these circumstances around. And then was decided to organize end of competition, which I don't call as a regular league, but end of competition to save, let's say, to save basketball a little bit, to save the clubs, to save a bit of everything. And we were in the special circumstances in a bubble. And then before the crucial game, also we made one video which is supposed to be a motivation video, where the family members, which also you did after that, family members send the messages and support to all of us. But believe me, that I have feeling like this is different experience than the first one that I say. It was the first one very successful. Second one, I was too much emotional, that this kind of emotions that doesn't give you the sharpness in the game, I think would cost us a little bit after that, if I can get back on this topic. Also, what I told those players that we had in that time, they didn't have this kind of experience before. And having this kind of experience, it's very fragile. Where is the edge? Where is the boundaries? What is enough or too much? Because you never controlling emotions is the biggest effect in any game, in any part of the life. And having more emotions usually, doesn't give good result on the end. So this is the point that we all need to learn about. But to find what is the proper dose of let's say this kind of motivation video, it's really, if everybody knows, then everybody will succeed.
Of course, of course. No, everybody's different. I remember doing it because
I believe that this is something what we all need to care about in the future, because those things now are part of the life. In the past was not that, from many reasons, was not a part of this. It was more about coaching speech, because the influence of the coach to the game and to the team in the past, let's say 20 or 30 years ago, was bigger than anything else. Automatically also the level of authority that one person had in the group of the people. Right now, the coaching job and this level of importance, authority or whatever, it's a totally on another level. So now it's all about to adjust to the time we are, present time, and also to adjust to the group that we have.
of course.
So this is now tricky thing now for everyone who wants to go that direction, to find the balance
Of course.
between necessary things to deliver and what the group individually or the group can accept.
Right.
And this is but I mean, for me, of course, is a one tool that we all need to have in the pocket, and now to know when exactly to use and how much.
And the idea was to use it because I was aware that the team was not in optimal conditions to succeed. We had people coming back from injuries and not playing much. We had players really tired, both physically and mentally. We were playing a team that was more experienced at that level. And that's where I believe that bringing emotions, playing at home in a place where some players didn't have that support of family, that's where I believe could make the difference. Like you say, it didn't work out with some players. Some others did okay. It's hard when you make it as a team, as a collective thing, to be 100% into those things for sure. And sometimes you have to do bets. And it's true that in mental performance, like I'm often posting on social media about things that are wrong, eventually situations that are wrong, sometimes to show what we can eventually prevent, but also sometimes to show how we can react to what's something that's wrong. And I'm not someone who's perfect into what I'm doing, like you say. And that's where, again, in my role, it's very important to work with people like you, with whom I'm able to have trust into our relationship, so that we can build upon this and make sure that we develop that work so that it's beneficial to everyone. And like I say, for example, when I talked about that player that I helped eventually raise his percentage, with him, he was fast because he was already a good free throw shooter at practice. He just needed help in the game to get that trigger. But maybe a same player would have needed maybe 3-4 months to eventually get that switch, And that player did it very fast because of several situations, because of several reasons. I helped him along the way, but I wasn't alone. He did most of the work himself. So what I'm saying is, into mental performance, I have to have the humility to understand that, first of all, I'm not saying the truth about things. I'm just taking the time to work on things that I believe most coaching staffs and teams are taking for granted. And I had a discussion with one former pro EuroLeague player a few days ago, actually, who's working with the EuroLeague team right now, is telling me that it's very interesting, but it's not always easy to work with EuroLeague players on things that are so simple that they don't feel like working on them, And that's where I believe that there is edge for performance, because too often we take things for granted. Coaches believe that they can do it all, and they need that ego and that confidence to be able to believe that they can do it all, but they also need to find the help and have the humility to understand that they're not experts in everything as well, and to find people that they can rely on.
What do you say? You said, of course, there are many things now said. I will just pick up one of the things that I want to mention right now is about you talk about simple things that we actually don't work enough. Like you mentioned, first of all, just talking about the free throw percentage. But we also discuss about many things, because those numbers are always huge when we lose the game. Then we see these numbers better than ever, and better than before. And it's not only about, like I say, it's of course it's a huge impact about that. And today, I'm pretty sure that we are all connected well to NBA, where, let's say, they're always first in something, and the development of one game. But the game is, let's put the game on the side, but development of the team. It's now going more and more to the aspects of those kind of details, like you mentioned. I will also mention using the no bonus fouls, or turning the ball over.
Yeah, boxing out,
which I used to say. Now it's always be easy to be smart right now and say that, okay, what is today basketball? It's a game of numbers. On the end of the day, number of transition points you score or you get, number of box out situations, free throw percentage that you already mentioned. Let's say what I said, transition points both ways, which we mentioned turnovers, yes, no bonus fouls, turnovers, and free throws. On the end of the day, showed which team will be on the top and which team will be in average. So we always talk, and we all know that is important, but we never put so much attention on it to work on really details to improve. And how many games, even though now watching EuroLeagues, I watch more EuroLeagues, of course, to be honest, but I follow NBA, and how many teams on that level, losing the games by these numbers, which are decisive, completely decisive about, especially about a tight game. Second, sharing the information with my colleagues in NBA. There are some facts that I hope now in Europe, when we talk about trendy things in Europe, which when we talk about being a mental coach or mental supporter for the team, there are of course now more and more organization in EuroLeague level, which is for us like the prime organization. More and more organization hiring the mental specialists for the team. That's first important thing, which is good. But now when I share the thoughts with the colleagues in NBA, what now is going, the coaching stuff, getting more and more people and more specialists just for, let's say, the special areas, which now I hope by the time will come in Europe and take like big influence in more organizations than right now exist in Europe, using this because that's all important now. The game becomes so fast. There are so many, calendar is huge, so many games, not enough time to prepare everything. But what you can do, you can have those kind of support from different coaches in different areas where they are really specialists for that in a short time period, because we also now living in the, let's say, social media time where everything is about one click, one reel that takes 10-15 seconds or more, but not for a while. So the same way the players today working, not long speech, short speech, few words, few clips, few informations. And this is why this process is today very important. And having one more voice and one more specialist, for example, one head coach, or together with some assistant coach, we had in that time 2 assistant coaches and one young coach who is in process of learning the being a part of it. They have also areas where they need to spend a lot of energy and time. You always miss the guy who can have a extra voice, but specific voice with exactly the target we need at that moment. So this is what I say, how important was, and I think for the future games as well will be really important part of the coaching stuff, being an important part of the process of one team and in one organization, not only when the basketball session is like a practice meeting or the game is, but also, more and more people will ask for those kind of support also in time between. And I have already many examples, high level NBA level players that by having this kind of talks, sessions, support, they really escape the big trouble to be exhausted for the long time, or even though for the basketball that they're supposed to play.
Right. Well, thanks for the feedback. I think it's really interesting. And things don't always have to be complicated, like we talked about. I remember when you talked about, you quoted turnovers, for example. One of the first 2 things that I remember doing when I came to the practices with Juventus was to, in the first practice, to encourage and push the players to communicate more, because I was really surprised how they were not being vocals. So to tell them as a team and individually to go talk to each and every one of them and remind them, not tell them, remind them how important they could bring themselves a little touch to be more communicative and be more vocal. And the second thing that has nothing to do with it, but that has to do with turnovers, it's actually, you were having a shooting session, and remember they were actually shooting also in the next gym. And it was just to tell them, look, be careful, you step on the line. Be careful, you step on the line. Remember how many times you hear me say, be careful, you step on the line.
Exactly the thing, is that you mentioned, this is what I really liked, that you realize a very quick momentum of the things happen, and that causing the problems in the long term. And because we had this situation with the 2 gyms sharing the drill, that's why I want to put attention on the support and the help that you give, because head coach, of course, you see details, you see many things, but overall your focus is on a different picture. And this is why the job of assistant coaches, or even for me, you were my assistant coach. Sorry if you don't accept this.
No, I appreciate it. I take it as an honor. Thank you.
You were my assistant coach. So those things are exactly the job. I've been also a lot of years in the role of assistant coach in a great organizations. And this kind of responsibility and ambitions and motivations to do your job best as possible, I know how much how much it takes from one person in being in this role. And if you don't do this that way, I think you don't give your best. This is the first thing. And second, relation and connection between the players and assistant coaches are different than with the head coach. And if you build this from the beginning, that they see a real benefit of this connection, then of course your importance, your role, your authority is getting bigger,
right,
and more respectful from the players, which is, I think, very important, especially when we now put a small topic about people in the staff and how to do the job, because this is one of the most important things, especially for the guys working in the staff. And working on these things that we sometimes don't pay attention, like you say, take it for granted. When this happen on the game, then we all pay the price for it.
exactly. And two things about it is that we don't always see things, and we can't always, again, see the data of the work. But when we work together, we didn't turn one ball over from stepping out of bounds. We didn't have one 3-pointer that was becoming a 2-pointer because we stepped on the line. And I remember from being consistent and repeating both to assistant coaches with humility and never telling them, but being with them, reminding them of the why we should pay attention about it, and to the players. Because to the players, I was not telling them to piss them off. I was telling them to say, look, as long as you are aware that you step on the line, I'm okay with it. I just don't want you to be disappointed and work so hard at practice and then take a shot to tie the game, and then it's a 2 instead of a 3. And if you remember the last game against the Lietkabelis, we have FK Šaulis who's taking a 3, and they went on the camera and checked, and he was a 3. And in terms of psychology, we say that the subconscious is prepared to execute and do and be prepared to do what you've been working on. And I truly believe that all the information that we have been working on and putting them in those situations unconsciously help the players to not step out of bounds, to not step on the line. And we don't see it in the stats, because like you say, when you erase turnovers, you don't see them on the stats. You know what I mean? But it's the work that has been done on a consistent basis, not been told just one time, but every practice, and told in a way that it was meaningful to them. It was not told to say, oh, you're doing this, you shouldn't do it. Everybody knows that you should be doing it. But I was reminding them of why, and I was reminding them that they have the power to choose, do you want to pay attention about it or not? Then you deal with it. You own it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, of course, like I said, 5 weeks, but we both see, or we all saw the consequences of having this voice, emphasizing the things, not aggressive way, to be bored or a boring guy or something like that. So this is why we mention now in this our conversation, our talks, about how important it is to find right moment, right time, just to put the information to the guy who really cares about it, and having less mistakes that way, of course, rise up the team. We don't talk only about the numbers, but we talk also about the confidence, also the trust between the guys, and trust between the group and everybody else. So means those all things, especially today, is what I want to mention is emphasized, and really important more maybe that we pay attention in the past. It's for one reason: game is faster. Schedule is different. Expectations are different. Popularity of the basketball is different. Focus of the people seeing and following basketball different way is different. So then, of course, now, even though when I see the comments of fans, they really also understand how important all these things, especially when these small things cause the team to succeed.
Yeah. And when you
And
press
this is
coach,
why, because we all know that other numbers are more important. For example, the number of the shots, percentage of the shooting, 2, 3, this and that, deflections in defense, rotation of the guys, being at the right position, pressure of the ball. We can talk about everything. But at the end of the day, decisive things comes up again in the things that I mentioned before, and this is why we all need to pay attention how to reduce the number of that unnecessary things, like I say, better things to say, that can cause less performance for the player and for the team as well.
Right. Right. I agree with you. And I would just like to go back on one thing that you said earlier about US, about, like the way that they are in advance on many things, which they are. One thing I had been discussing, and even in the podcast with sports psychologists, mental performance coaches, we had been working with the NBA organizations. One thing that I really enjoy working with you and Juventus was the fact that I was there on a daily basis. That helped me to, I believe, hold everyone accountable. And sometimes I could do a speech, but very rarely. I was just eventually adding one thing and another here and there. But just by being present, I feel like even you guys, even the coaching staff, was paying more attention to things that eventually might not have been the case before. And that I know that players were just, I didn't always have to need to talk. They just like, this guy is here for that. He reminding us by his presence that we need to take care of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, for me, it was the most important that you can join all sessions that we have, that you become a part of the family, that you really live the things that we live on a daily basis, good and bad things, of course, that you can think about it to maybe to find some advice, some solution for all those things, or to confirm something, whatever, but the team feels that you are part of it.
Right.
Because it's not the same now if you come from time to time and now you say, yes, you step on the line, this is why you didn't make. They will just,
Exactly. And that's why I think that's
because sorry to interrupt you, but this means that you are like a fan of the team that just go more sessions than the game is. So because when it's a game, that the emotions of the fans, especially in Lithuania, that everybody knows basketball, all coaches, of course, they're all coaches. They know exactly when is a timeout. It's a good, not good timeout. Did you substitute good or not? Did you step on the line? It's 3 seconds or not 3 seconds. It's did you shoot the ball well or not? Did you turn the ball? But that's a fun speech and talk.
right.
But if you're part of the family, the players accept this different, and this is why I was insisting that you are there. And of course, like in orchestra, I wanted that we really understand each other. That even no talking, just by the eyes. We all know when is the momentum of anyone to jump in, say something, do something, or if I want to provoke something. Because, like I said, I'm a kind of coach who, working with a team, believe that we all need to feel how the team as an organism lives, how breathe. Sometimes you need to rise up the pulse. Sometimes you need to calm down the pulse. Sometimes you need to provoke that things happen. And all these things, if we are like one orchestra, we all know what of course, what my philosophy is, the way I work, and the way I want to create some things. When you jump in this and you already understand, it's easy now to, like, to work together and to know exactly the momentum and timing, what to say, how to say, and if I'm loud, that you calm down the people. If I'm calm, that you say something what gonna wake them up. Because anyway, what I really believe in and really like, why our cooperation was good. Anyway, my job is to, my voice is always dominant. And this voice, this music is every day for the players. I know many songs which I heard a bunch of times in my life, but every day, just one song, I don't believe anybody likes. And even the song is good. This is what I mean. So this is important. That okay, that's a favorite song, but let's say maybe some commercials in between, maybe some other sound, maybe I don't know, some changes in the text, lyrics, or whatever. But this what will keep attention of all the guys that really want to follow this music. And this is how I see that. And I think that those things happen. And like, I hope we both agree that was big impact for the guys having this kind of music.
Right.
The time.
I remember the metaphor about the orchestra and the music that you had told me before too. And it sums up the situation pretty well. And that's what I want to say, like to me, to the people who would be interested into making it happen into their organization with working with mental performance coach or sports psychologists. I think where the mistake is being done right now is that they eventually make someone available in an office, maybe once or twice a week, and they don't create the bond, they don't create that trust, and that's where I believe that it's really important if you want to be successful to make sure that it's good to want to develop those skills and to make someone available for your team and your players and your coaching staff. You just need to make sure that player, that person, that mental performance coach or sports psychologist really becomes part of that family, like you said, really becomes part of that team so that everybody can be successful. Otherwise, it's just pissing in a violin, like we say in French, it's just a waste of time for everybody. You're gonna ruin the reputation of the professional that you asked to come. The coaches are not gonna believe into what is being done. The people who invested in there are just gonna say it's a waste of time, and it's just loss of time for everybody and money eventually. So I think it's very important to be aware of how to make it happen, and the time, just like for anything else, the time that you need to spend to build it up, to make it happen.
Did you remember I talk about submarine? You've been in this meeting when I talk about submarine?
Tell me again. I'm not sure right now.
I don't know. Now I try, I'm getting older, like
Every day.
Or many things happen every day, so it's a lot of things going around. I think it's very important, and I want to mention this now maybe you were there in the meeting when I talk about submarine. How is the life in submarine? You remember this?
It tells me something. Yes.
Because all these things now, summary, what we talk about, this is building the responsibility for each other,
right,
and having to understanding for every role in organization or in the team, in the family, in whatever we can say it. It's not wrong. It was one of momentums where you need to rise up many things in the team, connections, and then I talked to them about the submarine life. For example, I didn't go deep in that, but the point was clear. because I asked them, did they know how the life going on in a submarine? They didn't know. Of course, they know all about submarine, but they didn't know about what's going on over there. And they explained it. First of all, you should understand that the one good team is like a submarine, but not submarine when it's in the port. Submarine when it's under the water, because that's another circumstances, and we all need to know that playing basketball, especially on a better level, on a high level, is being in a special circumstances, because that belongs only to the people that they can really do that. Even though that when the game is so simple that people think, aha, okay, I can do that the same, but that's another point. What I wanted to say, so one team is like a submarine, and the people in submarine, it's like in the special circumstances where the high pulses, less air, less or not enough water, not enough space, and this and that. And on the end of the day, in a submarine, I will not mention now a number of the people, but let's say that you have, for example, 15 guys. So there is no 15 rooms or 15 beds in a submarine. They are like 5 beds. Then you have 5 people working, for example, to guide or to, how to say, to
Orientate.
Yeah, to work on where we go, how we go, and there you have 5 people that they're working about all other needs that are important for the life in a submarine, and 5 people sleep. Then it's a shift. Then the 5 people wake up, they go in a one shift, the other guy is going to sleep, and it's going all over. This is how or small organization, let's say, how to explain organization comparing to the one team. This is like you have 5 players on the floor, then you have 5 players on the bench, or more people, of course. But there is a shift, there is a responsibility what to do and how to do. Then the biggest point of this all, first of all, to explain how the organization is over there, is that level of responsibility that everyone has. Doesn't matter, it's the guy who cares about how to cruise the submarine, or the guy who is preparing the food, or the guy who is cleaning, or what. Everyone that makes, or who is controlling the air in the submarine, or whatever, being responsible. What it means in submarine, in someone make mistakes, everybody are dead. And this is how to put responsibility in a team, basketball team, rising up responsibility for the things. And then we can put in all this line, turnover, box out, free throw shooting, this and that, and everything else. On the end of the day, the team will survive or die. And if we can work to bring this kind of responsibility to that level, to minimize those kind of problems and mistakes that they can cause, losing the game or being defeated. This is what we all need to work about. This is, if I now put a little bit one example, which is a new topic maybe that we can discuss about, but the point was rising up responsibility, importance of the details, importance of everyone in the team, role of everyone. Doesn't matter today I'm the guy who works in this shift or in another shift, or that everybody needs to work for each other, that everybody needs to support, that everybody needs to know the responsibility of every role. Today you are sick, okay, we have one person less in submarine, so we need to all do extra effort to substitute the guy or everything is well connected. Good example about how all these important things are very well connected as a team. Doesn't matter you have it on the floor or you have it in a submarine. So sorry, I took this time.
Yeah, I remember that story, and it's true that it gives a lot of sense into responsibility. When you talk about the roles of each and every one of them, I think it's really important. These days, I feel like it's that time of the year where not the preseason, beginning of the season, teams went through struggles and things, and I feel like a lot of teams are actually complaining. Complaining when they face adversity. They complain. I saw it again last night with two very experienced players about complaining about calls, about situation from referee and things like this. And I think that sometimes we do those things when we forget to focus on who we are and where we're going. You know what I mean? And I think it's very easy to have an identity. And I think that's where, again, the mental part of the coaching side that you're doing, it's helping to keep going through the season, because the season is long, like you said, with so many games, so much traveling, so much pressure and everything, having to deal with the social media and all those. That at some point we lose track of where we want to go. And if you don't have such a strong identity of who you are, both individually and as a team, then it becomes complicated to execute and to keep going towards the direction, And these days, I feel like it's something that we see often, even at the highest level. And it's not pointing fingers or anything. It's really stating facts about situations that we see often. And that's where I believe that we have so much room for potential. And that's the goal of the podcast, to have people like you telling about their experience. Plus we had a common one. And I think it's amazing to be able to have that experience shared to many people around the world, and we can benefit from all of what you shared today.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's first of all, I think that it's a good point that you choose those kind of let's say topics for the podcast. That it's very important that maybe people doesn't take it real how supposed to be, and those kind of things. I think it's necessary to mention, to discuss, to develop, because it's going to be a more and more important part of the game. So absolutely.
For sure. All right, look, Oliver, we said not too long. It's been over an hour. You're definitely the longest episode that we had so far, and I think we're gonna have to do another one in the future. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. Don't worry about it. But I'll be always happy to exchange again online, on top of our conversations offline, so that you can share your experience, because I wanted to have way more on your on your responsibilities with the Serbian national team, with your job right now and things. So I guess we'll have another episode one of those days, because over an hour of podcast, I think it's long enough for our listeners all around the world. And I think you'll be appreciated this way, except if you want to add something before we end.
Oh, of course. Thank you. First of all, your idea to open this conversation was great. From my side, of course, pleasure. Like I mentioned already, I think it's very important. I told you in unofficial conversation before we start recording that the thing is that already have a huge experience, more than 20 years on the high level professional basketball in Europe. That many things happen to me all around. That all this is in many gaps that I have in my memory, and that we need to just touch and that they show up. I think many important things we can also use in the future if you have this chance to open this conversation again, because right now, of course, I work where I work. It's different. It's another world, but it's a nice experience how to work with the people again. Unbelievable summer with the national team, with the best, let's say, one of be the best player in the world right now, and with a lot of high-level players. The same without him the year before when we won the silver medal in Manila, as a one maybe topic for conversation, how to deal with the big stars, with the egos, with all those stuff, and make them play together and then being happy and win together. Like we had this situation that everybody talk more about our emotions, our relations, our love, and our passion that we had in the Olympics than about U.S. national team winning the gold.
Mm-hmm.
So, which this is something else.
Right.
And of course, what happened in the past, of course. But like I say, you 1 hour with person like me, you know, after 1 hour we need to open the bottle of wine, and I think
That's
you know
amazing.
that you mentioned in the beginning, and then we can continue. Jokes on the end, of course, but of course, you know, I'm always available for you for anything about. Just, you know, keep your going with podcast. I think you're doing a great job. You give a good advice and space for everybody to get some new informations about many things that we believe sometimes are important but not so important. But I believe it's more and more important today in a modern basketball. Thanks
Appreciate it.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Oliver. Thank you for being you. Thank you for everything that you brought. And it's always a pleasure exchanging with you. So I'm sure that we will talk again very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.